Hey guys, so Carissa did a great blog post about how she organized her daughter's bedroom. If you haven't read it yet, I encourage you to go check it out. But she lays out a couple steps that she went through to organizing her kids' room, and I think some of those apply as I go about organizing my own house. And I wanted to share with you kind of my process whenever I'm tackling a new organization project. I love to organize if I'm in the right mood and have the time for it, and especially if the kids aren't running around. That always makes things a little bit easier. But typically I kind of identify a problem area. This could be as big as the playroom or the whole bedroom, or it could be as small as just this past week. It was my husband's desk. He got a new job. He's gonna be needing to work from home a little bit, and he needed a functional desk crammed into a small amount of space. So a lot of times when I'm tackling a new project, I kind of just focus on that one thing. It's easy to get distracted and feel like you have to go clean up everything else at the same time. Try to stay focused on that one task. Everything else can come later, I promise. So obviously you want to go through and declutter that area. So if it's a playroom, it's gathering up toys in a trash bag and putting to the side for later. Or if you really want to get organized right then and there, you can make different piles of things you want to keep, things for storage, things to keep in the playroom, things to donate, things to just throw in the trash. So you can separate it out then and there. There have been times where I've been crunched for time and a lot of the toys just go in a trash bag. If I don't know that the kids don't need to play with them currently or don't want to play with them currently in the playroom, I put it in a trash bag and it goes in the attic and I deal with it later. Not the best solution, but it's something that at least gets the living space functional. So go through, declutter, and keep what you need. And really think through it. Am I going to reread this book that's been sitting on my desk stand forever? Or what are the things that I use every day but always seem to be buried? How can I make them more accessible? Same thing for kids' toys. Which things do they play with all the time that I want to make sure they get to? What are the things that they don't play with enough that they probably should? Is it because they're up on a high shelf instead of being easily accessible? So kind of just brainstorming and figuring out that part of it and decluttering all of that and thinking through it. Then I like to think about what tools am I going to use to help this process. So I kind of try to think through, or even go through my house. I'll go down to the garage or the basement or the attic and be like, what little pieces of furniture might be in other rooms of the house, not being used very much or not being used well or taking up space, or what's just kind of been sitting there. For example, for my husband's desk, I went into the garage and I was like, oh, I forgot we had those shelves, and they were just kind of holding junk in the garage. They weren't serving much of a purpose. So I grabbed that shelving unit and it fit perfectly beside his desk. So now he had 3 extra shelves. It didn't take up much space and he could put extra stuff on. I've done that for the playroom. Other times, I had tried that for the playroom for a while and it just wasn't working. Like, no matter how I rearranged things, no matter how I organized things, things always got crazy. So I thought a little bit outside of that and I was looking for a more permanent solution. And IKEA sells bookcases that were really inexpensive. They were only $30 a piece. And if I bought 5 of them, they would actually turn one of my walls in the playroom into what looks like a built-in kind of shelving unit. It's wall to wall, floor to ceiling almost, and I get so much storage space. And that $150 was relatively inexpensive for that amount of storage, and it's been wonderful. I love it. I love how it looks. It makes me happy, and that's what you're going for. Hopefully at the end, it's easier, like I had talked about in the other organization video, it's easier to keep it clean if you do the job the right way. So make sure you find those pieces that are going to help you stay organized. This does not mean that just because you go buy a bunch of bins that you can just keep all the junk, right? So we already did the decluttering. We have things pared down, and I love the dollar store for organizing. I bought these shelving units and installed them, and then I went to the dollar store And I bought a whole bunch of baskets and just rearranged them wherever I wanted them on the shelves. But there's one other really key thing that I myself am guilty of doing, and I know a lot of people are guilty of doing. After they do a whole organization thing, they fill up every little ounce of space. And we all know that we bring more stuff into the house and things get a little bit disorganized or more toys come in, and all of a sudden you've ran out of space. The space that you organized to fit what you have now might not be working a month from now. So, when I did the playroom stuff, I left a couple baskets empty so that they're there, so that when we bring something new in, it has a place to live. And if everything's full, then I know it's time to go through and declutter again and kind of figure out how we can, do those mini reorganization tasks. And that's the thing. It's never once and done, especially if you have kids. You could do something now and in 5 minutes the playroom will be a disaster. But of course the goal is to minimize that a little bit, make it easier to clean up, make it easier to look at, make it more manageable for yourself. And hopefully those help. So declutter, find the right tools and materials that you need to make it work for your space, and make sure that you leave enough space at the end to allow for all that growth and to change things around. And don't be afraid to change it down the road if you need to. But I wish you luck and have fun with it. I don't know, some people hate it, but I think it can be enjoyable if you have the time and the patience and allow yourself that space to really think outside the box and do something fun with it.